So we said they are 8 times more likely to have children out of wedlock. They are 9 times more likely to drop out of school before graduation. 5 times more likely to be both out of work and out of school. And let me say something about this out of work situation. Many people often think that when people are unemployed, they think of the person themselves as being unemployed. Well, he didn't get the job. Keep this in mind, ladies and gentlemen. When he is a father or she is a mother, you are unemployed in the sense a whole family. When a young man is not getting a job, you're talking about a young man who, though he's had a child out of wedlock, cannot marry because of the uncertainty of his income or the instability of his income. Not only then is he reluctant to marry, or is the woman reluctant to marry him because she doesn't see any material gain as a result of marrying him, or the system organizes its support to her in such a way that says, in a sense, you have to keep them outside in order to get minimum support. In addition to that, a psychology is produced within the family. When a man is unemployed, a woman is unemployed, there is a psychological dynamic that develops in the family. The man's dealing with his own masculinity, his own inability to provide for his family, his concern with his authority, which is based on his ability to provide. The attitude often of the woman, he's still thinking often that he should be the final word and the final authority, until one day she tells him, I'm earning the money in here. And I'm the one who's responsible for keeping this family alive. So, he had to sit back. Now, out of that, of course, often comes a man who's going to insist that he's the last word, and often may insist in a way that brutalizes or abuses the wife and creates all kind of psychological abuse within the family itself. What am I saying here there? In a system that does not provide for the employment of this population and does not support those that are unemployed due to no fault of their own, that system creates negative family dynamics. It creates stresses within family systems. It creates stresses within communities. It creates traumatic relationships between people. And out of these stresses and confusions and uncertainties and so forth arises violence. And that violence is going to occur within that family, within that community, within that race. And then we'll have the outside community saying that this family or this race or this group is violent innately, that we have nothing to do with.
I really don't want to make this video too long because it doesn't need to be. So what are my thoughts on the video of the boys dumping the girl in the dumpster and the boy hitting the girl with the skateboard, or the man hitting them, because he looked grown to me. First, the guy who hit the girl with the skateboard, he just needs to be fucked up all the way around. That's just how I feel about it. The boys putting the girl in the dumpster. That one's a little bit weird. Her being 17 and the boy being 13, that she was, trying to holler at. I actually thought she was a crackhead when I first looked at the video, because, crackheads basically walk around with oversized t-shirts that you can't even tell whether they're wearing underwear or not. So I actually thought it was a crackhead. And, I didn't know that she was 17 years old. I had to go and watch Ayemi Lojo's video, which was an excellent video, by the way. She did a kick-ass job in her video, but there's one point of contention I have with Ayemi Lojo, and to lesson to many of the other women around here, and it's going to tie into, what I got to say about the whole thing. But that girl, when they were dumping her in the dumpster, a bunch of people have pointed out that she was smiling. I noticed that too. I think she didn't realize that they were going to throw her in the dumpster for real. She seems like the ditzy type that just doesn't get it, is kind of starved for attention. You'll see that in urban environments, especially young black women who don't know. Like, this is the problem with black people being born in poverty. All these videos were black people in poverty. All of them were in the hood. You know, it wasn't no Carlton Banks up there. Wasn't no ELs up there. It was all children, you know, born and raised in the hood. And we've already discussed and talked about how these people, they don't get the support systems they need. You know, their parents are, you know, socially and emotionally fucked up. There's no resources to be had. And that has a profound negative effects for all participating parties, both males and females. Right. But, you know, she seemed like the type that you would have to tell her that that was actually disrespectful. As it's happening, she doesn't get it. She thinks it's just jokes and all the other stuff. And then the other thing is that I really think that there needs, you know how you got like special freaking sex ed and you got driver's ed. I really think that there needs to be a social media ed. I really do. Because the stuff that these young people are posting online, they don't understand the damage. And I do get frustrated with some of the older women, because let's face it, these conversations that we're having online right now, you know, the people who are the real voices of the conversation, it's a 25-year-old and up conversation. You know what I mean? These people that you saw in that video, they were children. You know what I mean? And they don't understand, you know, like what they're doing against the backdrop of, you know, ideas of black women not being valued and being disrespected. You know, that's the lens that the women are going to see it through. You know, it's virtually impossible to get women to contextualize shit when they're on the receiving end, you know, of you know, this bullshit. You know, then they're not gonna look at it, you know, appropriately, which is why I'm making this video. Okay. Now, this ties into a lot of what, you know, I've talked about, you know, and a lot of other people have talked about in reference to why it's important to choose the right man. Now, I'm not saying that in a vacuum, like the whole thing can be solved by women choosing better men, but this is why this whole just having babies, just to be having babies with whoever, and again, anytime you have a conversation, you know, with women about, you know, having babies and why a man is important. There's too much black men are irrelevant conversations floating around in the black community, where they were around before I came online. Hell, they were around in 1986. When you go back and you look at that 1986 PBS special in Newark, black men, I don't think black men are substantial to the family. Well, this is the outcome of that shit. You know, even bringing up Iami Loho again. You know, as kick-ass as her video, you know, was, I'm like, this is coming from a woman who said that, you know, she doesn't distinguish between, you know, men with money and men without money. She treats them just the same. Even Chloe had to come out and say, you know, she had to speak on confused women. Like, no, you don't treat established black men. You don't treat upperly mobile black men. You don't treat black men who got it going on, which is the very thing that black women complain doesn't exist. You don't treat them the same as dusties or street niggas. You don't treat them the same. You gotta give them a heightened level of respect. And a lot of sisters, culturally speaking, they don't operate like that. And I'm saying what Iami Loho previously said about, you know, she doesn't distinguish between men that got it together and men that don't, and she treats them the same and everything because Iami Loho has her own money, and, you know, she's obviously, you know, got her YouTube channel, you know, so they're getting nice monthly checks and everything else, so they can get their hair done, they can do this, they can do that and everything. And so the idea of being dependent on a man for a lot of these black women making money off of YouTube is pretty much out. You know, so it rolls into the whole, men are not, you know, substantial. Like men are just simply like these ad libs to their song. Again, adding a man to a woman's program, you know, which is why, you know, the whole conversation about hypergamy and dating up is contradictory. Right. But, you know, it's like if I were to stand up and say that femininity is not automatic. It's actually something that you have to learn and practice and train and stuff like that. You know, like especially like when we talk about makeup and everything, women would agree to that. But somehow when you say that manhood is not something that's just automatic, right? Or patriarchy is not something that's automatic. It has to be taught. For some reason, women, they can't conceptualize that. They like lose it, right? And if women were aware of that, maybe, just maybe, they would take more seriously who they decide to lay down with and have babies by. Because, that whole situation, people talking in East Baltimore and whatnot, just based on Amy Loho put the clip in of the dude that, the one that was like, fuck Black Lives Matter, I'll take a black life, that dude. And if you looked at the response that he wrote, and I couldn't believe Amy Loho just glossed over it, but what is she, like 23? So she just glossed over it. But that is a young man who is hurting. And see, this is what we talk about, where the hyper folk, oh, black women are in tears, black women are victims, oh, we have to all be in tune with black women suffering, da 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 da. Nobody is in tune with black boys suffering. As everybody likes to say, hurt people hurt people. But nobody is in tune with black boys suffering. Everybody's supposed to be in tune with black women suffering. Nobody's in tune with black boys suffering. That boy said right in there that his brothers or homies got shot and killed. And then he talked about the judges that give their fathers life in prison. Talking about where's the energy for these judges, these white judges. Said it right in there. I'm like, oh yeah, see, this is a boy who feels abandoned. This is the whole issue of, bringing kids into the world without resources, especially boys. Because the fact of the matter is once these boys get to about 12, 13, 14 years old, the women have no control over them. And this is what pisses me off about black women. This is what makes me want to put hands on them sometimes. Because it's like a rabid dog. Okay? It's like you get somebody a dog and you say, hey, there's raccoons out in the woods that have rabies. Don't let the dog outside the damn fence. Okay? They don't listen to you. The dog goes running out in the woods and everything, gets bit by a raccoon. Now the dog's got rabies. Then the dog goes out and bites a little girl or something. Now she's got rabies. Now everybody's saying we got to put that dog down. We got to shoot that dog. Again, 9 months ago, that dog was cute and adorable. Everybody was playing with it. Everybody was loving it. Oh, the dog was just great. But because the person that was ultimately responsible for that dog did not handle their responsibilities, along with whoever the other person is, their partner that they went off and bought the dog with, because they didn't handle their responsibilities. Now the dog's got rabies, and now it's these dogs got rabies. You black men need to kill these dogs. And see, I got a problem with the fact that type of energy is never directed towards women. Again, two groups of people coming out of the same environment, fucked up emotionally, psychologically, whatever, fucked up. There's a whole bunch of foul shit that black women do. Again, contextualizing, okay, that come out of that same fucking environment. Okay, what those boys did, they are the male counterparts to the fucking ratchets. To the ratchets. But see, the thing is that since boys are uncontrolled by women, despite all of their Afrocentric matriarchy and black women, we led boys into battle, we led men into battle and all that. Notice all that Afrocentric shit is out the door. You got women talking about how they led men into battle in ancient Africa, and yet when you in the ghetto, these women have zero control of their own fucking boys. And I'm just pointing that out just to highlight, their shit talking. Just to highlight the shit talking and how much it doesn't make sense. That's because in ancient Africa, the men respected divine female principles. Oh, well, it seems to me you all suck at instilling divine female principles in these black boys in these urban environments. You all suck at that shit. You see, it is important for the boy's father to be there. And not just that, be the right type of father. A lot of y'all think, again, I've already had this argument. You think, oh, well, if a man just shows up, that's all that's needed. No, not if he's not the right type. Again, going back to a man that's a subordinate male and is willing to get with your program, or, is a type that is unambitious or unmotivated. What does he have to offer the boy? What guidance is he going to give the boy in terms of transitioning him into manhood? How is that going to happen? You see? Ultimately, a lot of this comes down to failed parenting, period. And people going out here and becoming parents with no resources and no environment. They just accept their lot in life. They accept the poverty and whatnot. And I'm like, fine, if you want to accept the poverty, that's fine, but don't have no babies. Don't have no kids. Don't bring them up in this bullshit. And again, people always want to talk about contextualizing. Okay, but it's like you have no control of the boys once they get past a certain age. When I bring up the point about why it's so important to contextualize what the fuck is going on with the boys, again, it's because you have no control over them. They end up being the problem when it comes to the murders in the community and the assaults in the community. They end up becoming the problem. And see, and this is the bias, that exists in the world. When women want to talk about how they don't have value. Again, women and boys coming out of the same environment. When it comes to the boys and they become rabid dogs, you know what people say? Kill them. Take them out. They got to be put down because they got rabies. Even though I'm sitting there like, who the fuck let them out the fucking yard? I told you to keep them in the yard because there's rabies out there. Nah, didn't listen to me. Nah, don't care what the fuck I got to say about it. So now I'm being charged with the responsibility, of a dog that arguably I told you not to get in the fucking first place because you couldn't handle the shit. Okay. Now I got to go out there and put the dog down. If you was a real man, you'd be checking these boys and handling these young men that are out here being savages in the community. Then when you get over to the girls, when the girls go out here and they do fucked up shit, people say, well, we just need understanding and compassion, and these women need to be reincorporated into society. You should forgive them for all the fucked up behavior and all the shit that they do, and you should just pursue them and date them, and the only reason they're acting fucked up is because they haven't been treated such and such and such a way. Nobody's talking about go out there and blow that little black girl's head off. Ain't nobody talking like that. But they'll say that about a black boy in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. Coming out the same environment. All because women can't fucking control young men. Period. They can't. As Amos Wilson said, and I've been trying to find a clip. I can't find a clip. I have it somewhere. Amos Wilson has a clip. He says two things, and one of them I already played the clip where he says, if you bring up manhood training programs and you bring the boys into the world and you're trying to instill them with this sort of manhood concepts, and you just, they're still unemployed and they're still jobless and whatnot. You know what I mean? Like sooner or later they're going to reject your values. Well, he has another clip where he says in the clip, he was like, if when you have a community and you neglect the boys will cannibalize the community. They'll cannibalize it because, arguably they're more capable than women. Okay, in terms of, they're sort of, the testosterone energy. And notice that's about the age that the women can't control the boys anymore. When they get around 13, 14, when they start producing heavy amounts of testosterone during puberty. Then the women can't control the boys. They can't control that type of that type of energy. When they're all cute and whatnot. Oh, the boys are so cute and oh, my little mans and all the other shit. Yeah. But once the boy gets into his teens, they can't control him anymore. You know what I mean? And that's when the women they just dump the boys on their fathers, who 9 times out of 10, in these situations either are absent, dead, in jail, or like defunct. And shit, like they can't, like there's nothing that they have to even offer the boy. And we've seen that numerous times. It's like, damn, why did you have a baby with this dusty ass motherfucker who has nothing to offer this boy? And then you end up with these black boys out here. I mean, aside from the media and everything else, and the self-hatred that comes from outside the community and whatnot, and then the associations of poverty and everything. Man, they ain't nothing in there that's gonna have a black boy value and elevate a black woman. Ain't nothing in there. He is going to be a self-hating, hating his image, hating black women, hating his mother because of the situation that he was brought up. No fucking support. And then he got to sit there and turn on TV and watch shit and watch these sort of, lifestyles that people are living that he doesn't have access to. He has no way out, no guidance on how to get out. And that's what you saw with that boy up there talking about fuck Black Lives Matter and all that. And then when he wrote his statement, actually, I have it because I saved it. It said, where did he say this shit? It said, let me read this shit. It said, this is Sneaky Bands. He says, fuck the net, everybody, on this black life shit. You know how long we've been trying to get our own black people to support us or our music. They threw it in the trash, remember? Yeah, and people were ripping, he wants to buy his music. Yeah, that's his only way fucking out. That's his only way out. That's all he can do. I can rap. That's what I can do. And even that's not good enough. Y'all shit on it. Now, maybe he sucks, but I'm saying it goes beyond that. It's what he can do. It's what he has to offer. Again, given the situation and circumstance that he's been born into. He continues and he says, now they want to stand together, bitch. Your hood beefing with mine. We all black. My brothers got killed by black niggas. Shut the fuck up with this Black Lives Matter shit. Because if you did, y'all would have killed white people or them judges that took our fathers for life. They white. You see, this is a fatherless young man who's pissed about being fatherless. And looks around and there's no unity. There's no community in that sort of environment. But yet we still got black women out here having babies with Dusties. That's still going on. And that's what I hate about all this shit. It's like, yo, stop with the fucking babies with no goddamn resources. You don't bring young men into the world with no resources. Because this is what the shit turns into. And then on top of that, the women have no control, zero control of the shit. You know what I mean? It's like the movie King Kong, and it's like Cap and I, we talked about this shit a long time ago, but it's like how fucked up the movie King Kong was, right? Because if you look at King Kong, right, here you got King Kong, he in the jungle, minding his motherfucking business on his secret island, right? The white man shows up, right? Says, King Kong, we discovered this giant ape. Okay, we're going to capture it and bring it back to New York, right? Then all hell breaks loose, right? And King Kong goes and climbs to the top of the fucking the Empire State Building, and they end up gunning him down, right? Like at no part was any discussion. Damn, we fucked up. We shouldn't have brought King Kong to New York City. That was a bad idea. Let's take him back to the island. Nah, it's like white people with slavery in America. We captured all these slaves and whatnot. Yeah, but we don't want to pay to send them back to Africa. Now, we don't want to do that, right? We're just going to continue to marginalize them and make them second-class citizens and everything else and create the ghettos and deny them economic opportunities. And then in the year 2020, we're going to sit there when they're screaming Black Lives Matter because of police brutality, we're going to say, well, what about Chicago and the problems in Chicago and the black-on-black violence, completely ignoring all the shit that they did, all the dumping of drugs in the black community, the anti-personal indoctrination against ourselves with white supremacy in the media and this sort of, self-hate game, what you saw with the Brown versus Board of Education and them failing the doll test, the children failing the doll. White people did all that shit. You know what I mean? But here we are, 2020. Are they going to correct that shit? Fuck no. No. That's all black people. Black people are just fucked up, and that's just what they are, and it's all their fault. We're not going to talk about the initial insult of snatching them from their homeland and putting them on ships and enslaving them for 400. No. We're not going to talk about that. We're going to start with black on black violence in Chicago. Look, I'm saying? It's not our fault. Like as though the world started in fucking, 2020. You see? And this is part of the problem. This is my frustration, with the women when they want to, again, like Amos Wilson says, Mrs. Victim and Mr. Monster. Because that's what it is. And I don't know how you resolve this issue. What do? Tell poor people to stop having kids? Right? I got no opportunities to give them. Again, as it's been argued coming from the mouth of a woman, it's only human nature for people to have babies. Plus, you got women whose whole identity is tied into being a woman, is tied to them becoming mothers. You saw what Rihanna was saying. Well, if I can't find a man, I'm just going to go out here and have a baby anyway. Shit like that. Completely ignoring the importance of the boys. Then when the women can't control the boys and the boys is just out there and they all fucked up and, women out here, they made unilateral decisions or, got with some dusty dude, who has to be addressed as well. But it's like, damn, I could sit there and check this motherfucker all day blue in the face. But if you go behind my back and you gonna sleep with the nigga anyway with no protect, like what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? I can't stop you from sleeping with these niggas. I can't stop you from sleeping with men that have nothing to offer their sons or their daughters for that matter. Because when we want to get into talking about femininity and everything else and women, black women looking like shit and whatnot and being overweight or being crackhead skinny or whatever, a lot of that is directly tied to the fathers not being there and providing the financial and economic support for their daughters to go out there and get gym memberships or wear makeup and everything else like that. Okay, if your daughter is a black girl that nobody wants to fuck and she looks like hell, nigga, that's on you. I would be embarrassed by that shit. You know what I'm saying? I don't want no fat, nasty daughter, you know what I'm saying, looking like some chick that and I've had a number of black men do this. Older black men. They come presenting their daughter up, you know what I mean? And she's like, "Oh, and this is my daughter." And you sitting there like, you know what I mean? Like that bitch looks awful. She all overweight, just ain't nothing cute. I don't want to make it seem like I'm just ripping in the sisters, but I have there's very few. I can't even say that there's any. The black men. No, I say there's one. There's one that I met. He was in the military. His daughter was slamming. But the rest of them, the men that introduced, oh, I got a daughter, blah blah blah. Daughter be looking like a hot damn mess, man. Looking like ain't nothing feminine, ain't nothing cute about her. Looking like if she was white, you would assume that her name was like Helga or some shit, or if she was a country bumpkin white woman, you'd be like, like it's like some hillbilly white guy, like, oh, would you like to meet my daughter Tildy? Matilda, come out here. Matilda looked like some ancestral, freaking, just, you know what I mean? Like, oh God, no. You know what I mean? Just looking like the black version of that shit. Like, it's like, oh, hell no. And I'm like, again, a lot of these kids are the byproduct of just fucking. That's what they're the byproduct of. They're just the byproduct of fucking. You know what I mean? And it look, I already know that the swirlers and the hypergamous women, they're gonna run with the shit. They're going, yeah, evil black men, and black women are just victims to the evils of black men. And they're going to fucking run with that shit. And you got to get out of Blackistan, ladies. Get your rocket ships. They're going to push that shit. Again, black women are infallible and black men are all evil and messed up and everything because you see the outward violence. You know what I mean? That's always been the biggest problem with addressing and checking women for their behavior. Because, yes, you're not going to see women who are outwardly as violent as males are. You're not. But to sit there and act like or say that black women don't do anything foul or contribute to any of the fucking problems in the black community is a bold-faced lie, that you're just sitting there as inanimate objects and they're just victims to the evils of the actions of black men, and black women just sit there in their hypo agency with all the shit that y'all talk. With all the strong independent, we out here killing it, we do it. You can't no man control me, can't no man hold me. You know what I'm saying? Like Don Napoleon said, you know what I'm saying? I have the first say and the last say so. You know what I'm saying? Don Napoleon is anti-control. I have the first say so and the last. Like, fuck out of here. Fuck out of here. Y'all act like y'all know what y'all doing until some shit happens. Then when some shit happens, then you retreat to like this I'm a woman position of dumping all the responsibility on men when again, you're running out here trying to pull their fucking dick out. You know, I was talking to Cap about that not too long ago about the Black Panther, women and whatnot. You know what I mean? Everybody has this fantasy. Like when I look at I got a couple clips that I found because I was telling y'all when I made that video about Cola Booth, not about Cola Booth, but had the Cola Booth clip in it, right? And, I went back and I looked at a lot of these women that, were a part of the Black Panther Party. I'm going to be real. A lot of them ain't look like shit. Real talk. A lot of them ain't look like shit. A lot of them were not your most feminine women. You know what I mean? And you can see that in older age. You can see that they're not subscribing to, sorts of ideas of femininity, even black femininity. I'm like, hey, keep the dreads, keep the locks. You know what I'm saying? But can we pluck the eyebrows a little bit? Can we wear some lip gloss or something? I mean, why can't you be an older woman that ages gracefully? Like, why does it have to be like you on some bean pie selling shit? Why does it got to be that? Why does it got to be all that grass skirt type of shit? But anyway, again, no femininity. You know what I mean? People like to think that, the Black Panther women were running around. They were all looking like Cleopatra Jones and Pamela Greer in a onesie Catwoman suit. Look, got the body of Amara La Negra, or looking, fuck it, just take Amara La Negra and put her in a onesie and then fucking be like, yeah, she's a Black Panther. She got an afro and she got her fist in the air and everything. I'm like, everybody thinks that like all the Black Panther women were walking around looking like that. No, they were not. No, they were not. And so the idea, all these black men, they just up and left because they're just so self-hating. And you had a bunch of Amara La Negra Black Panther women walking around. And I'm like, no, fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? That whole idea, if you're not going to get femininity like that out of women in poverty or women in, from a broken community, you know what I mean? Or women on some warrior shit, like you're not going to get that. And even the women seemingly don't understand that. They think that, that like I don't even know if they understand the definition of femininity or what men are actually into or attracted to. They just think that, I don't know, they innately have it or something, or they just, I simply am. You know what I mean? It's like that girl that got thrown in the dumpster, and they went and dolled her up and all this other stuff. Not a bad looking chick. After she's dolled up. But before that, again, I swear I thought she was a crackhead because she was too damn skinny. Again, where are the gyms available and free time for her to work out and get her body right and so that she can be, Brittany Bay? No, you're not going to see that. Not in that environment. You're not going to see that. And then you get into where the boys end up falling off and they out here thirsting for non-black women that come from way more intact communities and whatnot. Look, we can talk about the outside forces, the lack of economic opportunities and jobs and this, that, and the third, the issue with our interpersonal relationships, which in my opinion, largely come from the lack of patriarchy, the lack of black men who are gainfully employed who make enough money, and there's enough of a gap where black women recognize black men as the men that they're dependent on for their survival. They get opportunities from. They're the protectors in the community. Any shit happens in the community, the men are there, they handle it. A woman gets disrespected or violated, the men are there, they handle it. It's the same thing with what we're talking about with the police. When it comes to patriarchy, men have the majority of the power, the overwhelming majority of the power. And when you have that power, you have to take on the responsibility. If you don't take on the responsibility, people lose faith and they're not going to follow you. It's the same thing we see out here with the looters and black people and their relationships with the police officers. It's like, nah, motherfucker, if you ain't going to take your responsibility seriously, again, we done caught you time after time breaking the rules. We done caught you time after time violating people and whatnot. Yeah, again, that goes on for too long, which in the black community, that's gone on for 40, 50 years and shit like that. You're not going to have people who are just going to automatically and intrinsically give you that level of respect. because they've seen too much of you wanting the power and not taking on the responsibilities. So, I mean, this is the one of the main reasons why we have issues with black women. Aside from their adaptation to decades of fatherless homes and broken community and everything else like that, to the point that now, even if they're presented with a dude that's on, they end up saying dumbass shit like I am Eloho, talking about I treat men that got money and men that don't have money exactly the same. I'm like, oh my God. Like, that's dumb. That's dumb. You can't, it's like I already got men that don't want to correct the problem. And then I got women who, even if the problem's corrected, then they don't want to get with the shit. Like, it's so fucked up. But these are the things that would have to transpire. These are the things that would have to be done. You do not have kids in an environment or in a situation where there is a dearth of resources. You don't do it. It's just simply not done. And to the women out here thinking, oh, I can raise a kid by myself and everything, da 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 da. Again, I'm telling you, when you have boys and you got nothing for them, when they get around 13, 14, 15, you're not going to have any control of them. And not only that, who knows whatever else they're pissed off about their father not being in their life, or them feeling like you picked the wrong guy, or them feeling like you were a barrier between them and the father, in terms of the women that try to play that you can't see your son game type of shit. And we know that goes on, just like I pointed out with the women, on Facebook and FaceTime and shit that were assaulting their children, because they felt abandoned by the father or whatnot, that sort of shit. And by the way, I looked up the numbers. Black boys are the disproportionately the victims of infanticide, meaning when the mothers kill the child. And I gotta look more into it, because they don't give if you want to do research, if you one of these people that want to do research and you're working on your master's or your PhD right now, do research into infanticide in the black community, because it is a greatly understudied area. Because a lot of the infanticide conversations are like black children are the number one children that are killed by infanticide. And we're not talking about abortion. We're talking about like the child is born, the child is alive, and then the mother or the father kills the child. Now the problem is like, example, they blend the stats where they're talking about the first week of life, the mother's more prone to killing the child, but then after that, it's the father or the stepfather. But the issue is in the black community, a lot of times the father's not there. So are rates higher in the black community as it pertains to black women because the father's not there? Or then you got other situations where you have stepfathers, so it's less of the fathers killing the children and more the stepfathers or the boyfriends in the black community, which we've seen as well. What was the other thing? There was another area of contention. Oh, the other area of contention, something I didn't even consider until I was like glancing at the research. Fathers or men who kill the child that's not theirs. That's another big one. Of situations and cases of infidelity when the child is, all that Maury Povich shit. I'm 15,000% sure that he's the daddy, Maury. You know what I mean? Maury pulls out the envelope. You are not the father. That type of shit. That's another situation, circumstance where the child is more prone to being killed. Where the child that's not his is the one that the father or the boyfriend or whoever the guy that's an intimate partner to the woman is with, is more likely to kill the child. And I'm like, again, see, evil black man, but I'm like, here you are talking about a woman that not only cheated, but got pregnant by somebody else. You see, but that's not a part of the conversation. I remember there was a video clip, and it was, that shit was bad. Like the father, none of the kids were his. And even the kids were devastated. You know what I mean? And he was up there, I'm still your daddy and everything. But she just straight lied. Like, the kids thought that was their father. It wasn't there. It was both the boy and the son. And they were devastated. They were totally devastated. The father was devastated. All because the mother was lying on some shit. And again, it's shit like that. Yeah, that's not the same as hitting somebody with a motherfucking skateboard, but that type of shit is foul. And it's all of the type of little tiny, shit that does not get discussed that women participate and do. And we can sit there and contextualize and say, oh, it's because she's from a poor environment or she didn't have support and everything. Yeah, we can do that. But I'm saying this is what they do. And that doesn't get discussed. And then when they get caught and they get called out on it, then everybody wants to sit there and they want to, oh, it was the women and, oh, the victims and, oh, you should forgive and forget and da-da-da-da-da. None of that is said when it comes to the boys. None of that is said. When it comes to the boys, because of the classical ideas of patriarchy, hell, I started it off with this video. He needs to be put in the dirt. He needs his ass beat. Somebody needs to put hands on him. It goes back to freaking Bill Burr when he talked about the shit. Like when, women is like, there's just no reason to hit a woman. It's like, no reason. No, what are you, levitating above the rest of us? Oh, I can think of plenty of fucking reasons. It's just something that you just don't do. But there's like, women have this like invulnerability shield where it's like, oh, yes, okay, the punishment for her is 5 lashes. The punishment for him is death. You know what I'm saying? Like, and people want to act like, yeah, that's justice. That sounds about right. Yeah, she gets 5 lashes. He gets decapitated. That's justice. But yet, all the time, oh, gender equality. Oh, when men and women are equal and blah, 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 blah. But, again, have another conversation about when either gender fucks up, the punishment for him is death. The punishment for her, oh, well, we started off with 5 lashes, but how about a timeout in the corner for 15 minutes and a severe tongue lashing? It's like, really? That's all she gets? And, and we see this, even with white society in terms of, false accusations of rape and shit like that Connecticut basketball player or with the white girl or Brian Banks or Marcus Dixon and shit. Chicks lying on their dick. The Hofstra players lying on their dick, slap on the wrist or no punishment at all. You know what I mean? But they ready to just assassinate these boys, public execution style. They should all be hung from the highest tree, and let their entrails, on some Braveheart shit. They should be, what do they call that shit? Quartered and whatnot. I'm like, damn, all of that. And then you come to find out she lied. Oh shit. Oh, we done fucked up. Oh, time to go. Like that's all there is to it. And so that's my frustration. When it comes to the sort of the gender dynamic that goes on. And I get it because what you outwardly see are the acts of violence, perpetuated by boys. But again, Mrs. Victim, Mr. Monster, we can't talk about, what women are doing or what women are contributing to or the anguish that they cause and the suffering that they cause because, they're women and, women cannot be held accountable. And, that's where we are, and I don't know. I don't know how you correct the situation. You have a lot of men who are, looking to walk away, and you have a lot of women that, are arguing the same points. But it's like, who was I talking to the other day? I was talking to somebody about the whole, they were like, what about what's going on in Chicago? And you all say Black Lives Matter. This is why I hate the name of the organization, right? Because they're focused on the sentence, not the organization. And even though the organization, and we all know the organization is a gay organization, but I'm like, what are you gonna hold thugs to the same degree of accountability as law enforcement officers? I'm like, the problem is law enforcement officers get away with what they do. Thugs don't get away with what they do. They go to jail, they're arrested, they're charged. All that shit takes place. It's a complete and utter difference. The cops are getting all that's the problem. But people don't see it like that. They just want to, have a talking point. What about Chicago? Where's Black Lives Matter in Chicago? You only care when white police officers care. White police officers have too much fucking power. And they don't take their responsibility seriously. It goes back to, and I don't know if I mentioned this already in this video, but it goes back to the what I said about that whole sexual the hashtag Me Too shit. I'm like that is how people are going to shut down, and they're going to make sure that like you can't affect them when you don't take your responsibility seriously, or the so-called good cops don't speak up. And when the so-called good women don't speak up and they're like, no, that bitch is lying. I was there. She's full of shit. He did not sexually assault her. Blah, 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 blah. Men have to protect themselves. I mean, for the first time, we're actually going to see a woman really see some serious jail time, which is Johnny Depp's wife or ex-wife, for her defamation of character. Even though, Johnny, I mean, people were looking at Johnny like, oh, he's a piece of shit. He beat her up. He punched her in the eye. And you heard what she said on that video. You heard how she tried to use our society's general conceptions about gender and gender roles against Johnny Depp. I'm a 115-pound woman, Johnny. Nobody's going to believe you, Johnny. She used that shit just like that white woman in that fucking park used that shit. And what's frustrating is, yes, we know that white privilege exists and white women, there's more of a response and a reaction and whatnot from white society when something going back to Liam Neeson and, him, looking for a black man to accost because, his white friend was raped. But when black women act like, they get none of that, they just want to hide behind, oh, we're black women, we're just victims all the time. I'm like, this bullshit. Fucking Merlin Santana from the Steve Harvey Show is dead because of that shit. Because that girl lied and said that Merlin Santana sexually assaulted her. That didn't happen. Her friends or her cousins, 2 black men, went out there and blew Merlin Santana's back of his head off with a .30 caliber carbine. And now they're sitting in jail for the rest of their life. So don't sit there and try to act like, there's never a response, especially with all the responses that have been given on, in this situation, in this case. There's a lot of niggas out here that are dead because they responded off of a black woman's word. But black women want to pretend like, oh, we're never protected, this shit never goes down. But, well, the bodies of dead niggas say otherwise. Because there's a lot of dead niggas out here that are dead off of the strength of a black woman's word, just like with white women. But y'all want to pretend and act like that shit doesn't exist. That shit, y'all hide behind the system of white supremacy, just like you claim black men hide behind it. But I saw that the video clip that Ayami Loho posted with that dude talking about these young boys are built different. They're just built different. No, it's not just a matter of you see how dismissive that is? Oh, they're just built different. It goes back to like the rappers in the fucking 90s and shit. Going back to the whole, people not taking on responsibility. Like if you go back to the early 90s when hip hop was actually being challenged, they were like, oh, you can't say that on wax and that's vulgar and this, that, and the third. A lot of the rappers, T.I. included, Ice Cube included, they stood up there and they was like, that's not my responsibility. What did they used to say? I'm not a role model. That was their ultimate line. All the death and pain that they were promoting in their music and all the violence that was going on in the black community, when they were confronted by that shit on television and Phil Donahue and all of the type of shit, I'm not a role model. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not a role model. And when I see this whole, those black boys, they're just built differently. Yeah, they are built differently, but again, who built them? You know what I'm saying? What caused them to be the way that they are? And I'm saying just the brazen way that they are. What caused that? You know what I'm saying? You gonna tell me that it's not the environment? That's like when I get in arguments with white people and they want to sit there and they want to talk about black people, behaving and all this other shit. And I'm like, without having the same resources, being in a complete different environment seems to be pretty motherfucking important to you because you make sure that your kids go to the best schools and the safest schools or in the safest environments. If environment didn't matter, then why is it you go out of your way to make sure that you're in a proper environment when it comes to raising your kids and where they go to school and, what type of environment that they're in and whether they have a yard to play in and shit like that. You know what I mean? White people be like, well, we can't buy this house. Why not, Susie? Well, the yard is not big enough for the children to play. They take that shit into consideration. Black people, oh no, we gonna have 4 or 5 kids in one apartment. You know why them kids were outside like they were? I can tell you why they were outside like that. Any black kids that live in poverty and in freaking apartment complexes like that, because they gotta share a room with their siblings. You know what I'm saying? You got state ordinances, I think like in Michigan. Okay, if you have a teenage daughter, she needs her own room. She cannot share a room with her male siblings. That is law. Law. Now I want you to think of the type of objections that you're going to hear from sisters on some shit like that. Well, who says, because, now you talking about money. Well, who says they can't share a room? Da 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 da. Again, they made that shit a law. You see? A law, yeah. Same white zaddy that be writing you checks made that shit a law. Say you can't have a 16-year-old girl. She needs her own room. You can't have her in there with her male siblings. She needs her privacy as a young woman. Period. And this is the type of shit that some black folks, especially in urban environments, they don't think about that shit when they go out here and have a kid. Again, the children are nothing more than a byproduct of fucking, and they're treated as such. Oh, he was just a byproduct of me fucking his mom. I really wasn't. I ain't had no shit planned out. I really wasn't thinking about the little nigga. And then when they end up turning into the monsters, like it's like gremlins and shit. That's another perfect example. You know what I'm saying? Like Gizmo and shit. Don't feed fucking Gizmo. Why? Because all these little eggs come out of his back and he turns into the fucking gremlins and shit. And now you got a problem on your hands. But, again, you got a lot of people in the black community. They don't listen when you tell them some shit. And then they go out there and, I'm going to feed him anyway. I'm going to do this anyway. You know what I'm saying? And then next thing you know, bam. Now you got gremlins running around. And then everybody's running around talking about how you got to kill and take out the gremlins and the gremlins. I'm like, no, I'm not pissed off as much at the gremlins as I am the people that created the fucking gremlins. Like again, these black boys, and I'm saying, you would think that after Black Panther, people would kind of understand this. I mean, this is why I cried and shed a tear when Black Panther came out. And then what did I call Black Panther? I said, the Not My Responsibility Panther. Why did I call Black Panther the Not My Responsibility Panther? Because when the original OG Black Panther discovered that his brother was selling vibranium, he went and his brother tried to attack him or whatever, and Black Panther ended up killing him. And there was a little boy that was, his nephew that he didn't know about, that was birthed by an African American woman. And instead of taking that boy underneath his wing, he left him there. He abandoned him there. And then that little boy turned into Killmonger and damn near destroyed fucking Wakanda. That is a lesson learned in that movie, if not the most powerful lesson learned in that movie. But for some reason, everybody, all that shit just goes over everybody's head. Killmonger sexy. Killmonger fine. Notice the cancer in the community, the neglected boy is the sexy motherfucker that these women, he's so fine. Oh, Killmonger, Killmonger, you can have my babies. And nobody looks at the fact that Killmonger is Killmonger because Killmonger was neglected. Killmonger did not have the support. Killmonger was raised by himself in the fucking ghetto, in the African American community, which is why he came up in Wakanda with all that street nigga talk. You know what I'm saying? Burn this motherfucker down. That's why he came in there with that attitude. You see, he was very angry. And I'm saying we do that to black boys all the time, both men and women. And the women, they don't seem to get it. They can contextualize the girls. And when they go through some shit and she didn't have her daddy and she feels inadequate and she doesn't feel beautiful. Oh, y'all can contextualize that shit all day. But when it comes to your sons, when it comes to your boys in the environment, you don't want to contextualize shit when it comes to them. Then when they turn into the gremlins, when they turn into Killmonger, and they turn into that cancer that cannibalizes the community, you just say, oh, well, throw my hands up. We can't do nothing about it. We're women. You need to put them down like the dogs that they are. Now you tell me who in the community really doesn't have value.
But what we're trying to illustrate here is that culture, to a good extent through its conditioning process and other processes, through providing models, helps people to pattern their ways of thinking and feeling and behaving, and pattern attitudes. Both the conditioning procedures and contingencies and the models are provided by culture. And of course, we recognize that that's one of our major problems today, that often the models that we want to exhibit before ourselves and our children, and often the means by which we can reward our children's behavior, have not been placed in our hands. That another culture has control of the conditioning mechanism and has control of the models that by which our children are socialized. We must recognize again then, if we are serious about enculturating our people and enculturating our children, then we must gain the means by which we have to condition their enculturation. We must gain the capacity to reward, to punish, and to reinforce, to model the kind of behavior for our children and ourselves that we need to model.